Oh my God, sorry guys. I totally forgot to unmute myself. Let me start over. So sorry. But yeah, so today's going to be like a very special class because we're doing something different. It's not going to be very information packed. It's going to be more of an interactive class. So first we have two big announcements. Number one is that we already released our math contest winners, and these are the top 9, but I forgot to write the 10th person, sorry to whoever you are, but all the top 10 will receive special points, and also you can just check out the results on our website. Okay, and also we're offering 2 other weeks of special classes. They're going to be SAT Math, Writing, and World History. I know Kid Teach Kid has traditionally been more STEM focused, so we're trying to integrate more humanities classes for those of you guys who are interested in those as well. Okay, so first of all, of course, we have to talk about COVID if we're going to host a public health class. So, but here is a quick disclaimer. I know you guys are going to probably ask me a lot of questions about COVID, but here's a quick disclaimer that I'm not an expert on COVID. I just did a lot of like research because of my book and all that. So all I did, I just know like some stuff, but I'm not like a full-on expert. So I may not be able to answer a lot of your questions, so don't get mad at me because of that. And also some of the stuff that I'm giving you guys, like the information that I'm telling you guys may change because COVID is like such a rapidly evolving thing. So that as well. So I just wanted to let you guys learn more about what's going on so you can be more informed. So first things first, we're going to talk about the basics of COVID-19. So COVID-19 stands for coronavirus disease. So coronavirus, so VI, disease D. And the reason they named it COVID was because they wanted it to be a very non-discriminatory name. And also they wanted it to be very easy to pronounce so that everyone could say it and that it would be universal across the entire world. Okay. And also, of course, 19 stands for 2019. And the actual virus that COVID-19 originates from is called the SARS-CoV-2 virus, where SARS is the severe acute respiratory syndrome, and then CoV is coronavirus, and 2 is strain 2. So SARS-CoV-2 virus. And that was because of a possible mutation from the first SARS wave that occurred back in China in Guangzhou, I think. So yeah. Okay, so now coronavirus was first identified in Wuhan, China in December of 2019. I'm sure you guys already all know about that. It was like a whole jazz. And then it quickly spread around the world. Now the US ranks #1 in the world for the most number of COVID-19 cases. So there's a lot of reasons as to why COVID is probably ranked #1 in the most number of cases in the US. So when I was doing research on how each country responded to COVID-19, what I found was that China was like a very, very iron fist type of approach. So they immediately, first they did this whole thing where they were like, oh no, COVID doesn't exist. But after they got through that wave of like trying to suppress that, they realized that, okay, this is actually a real thing. We need to start treating this as if it's very serious, and it is. So what China immediately did was they imposed lockdowns on the city, and then they just made people wear masks. They did a lot of very like not harsh, but just very iron fist type of approaches. And that really helped to ease the spread of COVID in China. So nowadays, there's not really that much going on in China as of COVID. Okay, but let's look at the opposite of what China did. So let's look at Sweden. So Sweden's government didn't really do anything. By the way, I don't mean this in any of like a mean or discriminatory way. I'm just trying to like present the facts to you. They didn't really impose that many restrictions on the COVID, like to help control COVID. They basically let a lot of their facilities still continue. They still had a lot of restaurants open and stuff. So that's why they still have a lot of cases going on in Sweden. But now let's look at the US. So the US is doing pretty bad, but I think the reason because of that is a lot of people don't really understand like the importance of wearing masks and like the importance of quarantine and stuff. So they may just think that COVID is like not a real thing, even though it definitely is. I've seen a lot of social media posts or like people talking on social media about how like the president or like the government is trying to control us, which is like some really bad mindset, which is like, I don't understand. So that's probably a reason why the US is doing pretty badly. Meanwhile, China has been doing pretty well because they did like these really harsh lockdowns and stuff that helped curb the virus. So that's just some information I wanted to talk about. Okay, next a little bit about COVID is that there's two main strains. There's definitely a lot of different strains, but for the pandemic we're talking about right now, 80% of the people who get the disease, who is this person who keeps spamming? If keeps spamming, then I'm gonna have to like lock down the chat. Okay, but anyway, 80% of the cases are mild and 20% are severe. So the severe ones mostly manifest in the elderly, but anyone can get it, honestly. But the most people who die are actually getting the severe one. Okay, but I also read another news article the other day that talked about how the Gen Z, which is like our generation, like our younger generation, teenagers, young adults, are the ones who are actually facilitating the spread of the virus. They're the ones who like mostly go out and like do stuff that's problematic. So this is the group of people that intervention measures should probably target. Okay, moving on. So what does COVID-19 do to your body? So first of all, you guys already know it's a respiratory disease. It enters the respiratory system through droplets. And remember, if from our very first class, we talked about how there's different types of transmissions, and COVID-19 would be droplet spread. And droplet spread is a form of direct transmission. So the reason droplet spread is different from airborne transmission is that droplet spread consists of large particles suspended in air over short distances. So that's why social distancing does work for COVID, because the droplets will not be able to spread super far away. So by distancing yourself from another person by 6 feet, you're getting rid of you're maximizing the distance between people, and thus the droplets will not be able to like survive throughout that long distance, which is why social distancing has been recommended. Okay, anyway, it reaches the lower respiratory system. So unlike a lot of other respiratory diseases that just inflammate your bronchi and stuff in your upper respiratory system, COVID-19 actually enters deep down to your lungs, all the way down to like the alveoli and stuff. And then it attaches to the receptors in your lungs, specifically one called angiotensin converting enzyme number 2. So angiotensin converting enzyme, you may remember angiotensin from the biology class where I talked about the excretory system. It's the same enzyme, but it converts renin, or no, it converts something to something, but yeah. And then it replicates and proliferates inside your lungs, causing inflammation. And sometimes it can cause like complications in other body systems, like in your cardiovascular system or in your gastrointestinal system, which is like your stomach and your intestines, stuff like that. So yeah, any questions? Oh, it's okay. Q&A. Someone asked, what class is this? This is the last public health class. Let me see. Where do I find? Let me find the participants real quick. Since someone seems like they keep spamming. Wait, who's the person who keeps spamming? Because I don't want to accidentally ban someone who's like fine. Yeah, I didn't want to ban Error 404. I can't find him in the participants menu, so maybe he changed his name or something. I'm not sure. Okay, whatever. We'll just do it. Yeah, he probably left because it's not in the menu. So yeah, anyway. Let's move on to the COVID-19 chain of infection. So chain of infection is basically the life cycle of a pathogen throughout the infection all the way to back when it goes back into its normal environment. So I talked extensively about the chain of infection in my first class. You can refer to that in the class resources page if you wanted to learn more about it. But I'm just going to review. So we start off number 1, the agent. The agent is the SARS-CoV-2 virus. And next we go to the reservoir. The reservoir is basically where it proliferates. So in here, it says that the reservoir is the respiratory system. Okay, number 3 is the portal of exit, as in how it leaves the reservoir. So in the case of COVID or SARS-CoV-2, what it does is it leaves through coughing or laughing or talking, basically just through the mouth or the nose. Okay, and then the mode of transmission is how it's transmitted from one person to another. So SARS-CoV-2 would be transmitted through droplet spread, as I was talking about earlier. And then the portal of entry is how it enters the susceptible host, which is the person who is not, who does not have it. So what they would do is through inhalation, Okay, and then finally, it goes to the susceptible host, which would be the 6th chain in the chain of infection, which is the person who does not have the disease but will get it. So that is the entire chain of infection. Anyone have any questions about the COVID-19 chain of infection? No? Okay, let's move on to symptoms then. Okay, so symptoms, there's a lot, but most of it just revolves around a classic respiratory disease. But it's a lot more severe than a normal respiratory disease like the cold. So some symptoms include fever or chills, coughing, shortness of breath, or difficulty breathing, which can be a really big issue for elderly people. Fatigue, muscle or body aches, headache, new loss of taste or smell, sore throat, congestion or runny nose, nausea or vomiting, and diarrhea. So some of these symptoms like diarrhea are kind of abnormal in a respiratory disease. So that's something that is also to be paid attention to. Okay, let's move on to who's at risk. Okay, Anonymous asked, can 2 different mutations of COVID infect a person? To an extent, yes. So if 2 mutations are very similar and their protein codes are very, very similar, then the person's immune system who already got infected would be able to recognize the new COVID and then just immediately attack it. But if they vary enough, like if the strain completely alters and is a new thing, then yeah, it can infect the person again because the person won't be able to recognize it as the old infection. Okay, next, let's talk about who's at risk. So as usual, diseases that people who are more at risk of COVID are also the people who are less strong, like their immune system is less strong, so immunocompromised individuals. Older adults are also considered. Someone asked, are children more susceptible as well? I'm not entirely sure. As I was saying, I'm not an expert on COVID, but I'm sure you can find information about it on the CDC website, more information about it on the CDC website. But definitely children can get it because I've heard there's the new strain or whatever. It doesn't discriminate between old or new or old people or young people or whatever. So yeah. Okay, so let's talk about what scientists have currently done to help with the progress. So right now, there is one FDA-approved antiviral drug called remdesivir that can help treat COVID in extreme cases, but this needs to be under the supervision of a physician in order to administer this. Okay, and also seaweed seems to also help treat COVID, although this is something that's very, very new. As I was making these slides, I just found out about it, so it's pretty new. Take it with a grain of salt since there's not any hard evidence, but it is something that scientists are looking into. Okay, vaccine progress. Over 165 different vaccines are currently being developed. 27 are undergoing human trials. So human trials are part of the process in getting a vaccine approved to use for the public. So these 27 are basically almost there for public use. So scientists also say that it's a possibility to have a working vaccine by next year, which is a very good thing because once vaccines are available, then people can start getting vaccinated and it can help with herd immunity. Do you guys remember what herd immunity was from previous classes? Let me know what you remember what herd immunity was. So type it in the chat. There seems to be like a completely different conversation in the chat right now, but yeah, so for those of you guys who are writing it down, that's correct. So it's the people who are not vaccinated that can be immune, as Richard said. So like once a majority of the population is immune to a certain disease, that protects the people who are not immune as well, which is a pretty cool thing. So that's why we really want a vaccine. Okay, let's move on to how you can stay safe, because this is something that's very, very important. So if you didn't remember anything in this class, I hope you remember this. So I'm not going to say the best way or the way you need to do, because I myself am not an expert on this, but from reading a lot of articles, you need to wear a mask when you go outside. You've heard this a lot, but I'm going to say it again because you probably haven't really seen this graphic yet. And this graphic really surprised me as well, because notice that even if you're wearing a mask, like if you're healthy and you're wearing a mask, but the person without COVID is not wearing a mask, then you still have a very, very, very high possibility of getting transmitted, getting infected. So looking at the next case in which the person with the COVID is wearing the mask and the person without COVID is not wearing the mask, the probability goes significantly down. But however, do take these numbers with a grain of salt, because these are not like exact numbers. They're just meant to give you a rough estimate as to how effective masks are in protecting you from COVID. Okay, I think there was another question. Let me see. Didn't in the earlier class you say you can't run the opposite of making people get their virus? Oh, okay. Anonymous asked a really good, whoever that is, asked a really good question, as in that you can't use experimental studies to make people get the virus. That is a very good point to bring up. However, in these trials, they're not making people get it. They're just using people who already have it. So it's not like a big deal. They're not like violating ethical standards. Okay, someone else also asked, where did you get the statistic for the fact that seaweed may possibly help treat COVID-19? It's in this, there's like a link here. So after these slides get put on the Kid Teach Kid website, you can just read into that, or you can literally just Google like seaweed COVID-19 and you should get a bunch of articles on it. You can just look at it whenever you need to. I feel like people are getting really off track in the chat, so I'm gonna temporarily mute it. Okay. Can I send the link in the chat? I'll do it at the end if I have time. So yeah. Now let's talk about social distancing. So as I was talking about earlier, COVID is spread by droplet spread, which cannot like exist in the air over long periods of time and throughout a long distance, which is why by standing 6 feet away from other people, you can prevent their possible COVID from moving all the way across to you, if that makes sense. Because large air droplets don't stay that long in air, and also they don't get transmitted that easily throughout a long distance. So that's why social distancing is also a thing. But also, if you're gonna wear a mask, that isn't an excuse to not social distance, and vice versa as well. And finally, here I just plopped down a bunch of stuff that are not as well. The first two that I talked about, masks and social distancing, those are the most important. These are just some other like common sense things. Okay, someone asked, how long does COVID last on books or paper? I don't know. I don't know. I heard that if you're exercising, you should be 10 feet apart. Is that true? I'm not sure, but I would assume probably. I'm not sure though, because I'm not like I didn't do like a lot of research on exactly how far away you need to stay, but yeah. What is part 3? Oh, it's just because this is part 1, this is part 2, and this is part 3. Can COVID go through the mask? It is possible, yeah, but of course wearing the mask will limit the spread. But yeah, okay, part 3, how can you stay safe? Don't visit public places, of course. Don't meet up with your friends, of course. But yeah, just don't do it. Number 3, don't go to large gatherings, of course. Self-quarantine if you may have gotten exposed, and by this, all it means is to just stay away from other people in your house, possibly get your own room, and just ask your family members to like deliver things like outside of your room so you can come out and get it. Like, I know this may not be happening to any of y'all, but just in case, like, it's always good to know. And also, like, just try to get your family members to do stuff for you and like put it outside of your room so that whenever they leave, you wear a mask and come get your stuff. So that's how self-quarantining could work. Social distance, of course. Educate yourself about the basics of the disease, which you guys are all doing right now, which I really appreciate. Educate others who don't seem to care. Okay, this is very important because lately on social media, I've been seeing a lot of things where people just post like wrong information, like straight up wrong information. I think I saw like one post that was like, oh, masks are so ineffective. They only help, like, they don't help anyone. Like, you should be saving your money or something like stupid like that. So stuff like, just things like that really piss me off. So if you see a friend or you see someone or you hear about someone saying wrong stuff, you make sure you want to like tell them what's right, and so that they don't spread the information, wrong information to other people as well. Yes, like inject disinfectants into your body. That was probably like one of the things that really pissed me off because you know what, we're not getting into politics here anyway. What is it like out there? So worldwide epicurve is the thing on the right. You can see that cases are still steadily growing. And if you remember from the second class, I talked about epicurves and how epicurves of diseases that can be easily spread from one person to another are going to be very propagated, in which they have like different peaks and trows. So you can kind of see here the small peaks and the small trows, but I assume that there's going to be, after it goes up and then comes down, there's going to be another one as well because of its propagated nature. So yeah, as of the day that I was making this PowerPoint, there were 17 million cases and 670,000 deaths, which is quite a lot. Yeah. But what about the US? So the US curve looks a little bit different. You can see that there's kind of like a mini peak, but now we're like at another peak. So yeah, propagated outbreaks look like that. So I assume there's probably going to be a lot more peaks and troughs throughout the rest of the year and possibly even next year. So currently there's around 4.6 million cases, but it probably is more because I was writing this a few days ago. Okay, so that's enough background information about COVID. I think the main thing I wanted to talk about in this class today was a COVID-19 initiative and how you can start your own. So let's get started. So what is a COVID-19 initiative? So a creative project of yours aimed to help the world through the COVID-19 pandemic. So something that you guys can do if you're at home and bored is just like try to make a project or a organization or an app or anything like that that can help the world deal with COVID. So for example, I'm going to give the example of my book because that was something that I really wanted to do to help the population, even though it wouldn't really, even though it may be ambitious. Next, another example of a COVID initiative that we did was Flash Math. If you guys attended Flash Math, I'm sure you guys remember how we did the whole like special session fundraiser with AMC and Math Counts. That special session where we asked you guys to donate in order to attend our special session. And then we donated all our money to masks to help the people at our local hospital. And then another thing was created by Daniel. Some of you guys may attend Daniel's computer science class. It's the same dude. Well, he and a few other friends created an accessible online learning platform similar to Canvas. He's really good at computer science, so him and his friends coded like this software that allows kids and teachers to easily register and for teachers to like give online stuff to their kids. Yeah, I also have another friend who's nonprofit organization. She's really good at like art and sewing, so she makes videos on how to allow people to make masks and how to create hats for like other people in need, like other personal protective equipment. Another thing is that some people I know are working on research projects relating to COVID-19. It doesn't need to be like a breakthrough kind of thing. It's just like if you're interested in learning more, you could like write a review of a research paper and try to get it published. Or if you're interested, you can also try to like reach out to local professors in your area and ask them about possibly mentoring you on a research project. Those are also really cool as well. And finally, we have a remote business offering any type of COVID-19 relief services. So I was like browsing through LinkedIn the other day, and one of my connections, I saw that he created like this business, like a delivery business in which he makes like mochi or something. I can't remember. It was like some really good food. And then he like delivers it to other people since delivery is like a really important thing nowadays. So things like that. Also, these are by no means this is by no means a complete list. These are just some examples to help get you thinking about anything you could be interested in doing. Chelsea asked, does it work when you put socks as a mask? Well, I think maybe. Socks are literally socks are just like fabric, and masks are also made of fabric, so maybe? I don't know. Probably want to search that, Google search that. Does baking bread help? What do you mean by help? I mean, of course you can start like a bakery or something, of course. Like, that's a really good idea. I'm also really interested in baking as well. So that is something you could definitely look into. Okay, so here's why you should work on a COVID-19 initiative. The primary purpose always is to help because the world needs all the help it can get. So if you see the death rates, you'll know what I'm talking about. And also just our daily lives are getting really like screwed over. So just trying to help other people is a really good thing to do, especially if you're bored. Other reasons, a productive way to spend your time. So I remember when I was like in the very beginning, I was like really bored and I was thinking like, what can I do to help? Is there anything that I'm good at that I can really use and put to play? So then I decided, oh, you know what? I've also like really been interested in writing and teaching. So then I just started like just on a whim, I just started writing my book. So that's something that you can do if you're feeling bored. And also gain new experiences in a field you enjoy doing. Also, you always want to do something that you're interested in. You don't want to just do it because other people are telling you to do it or because you think it'll look good for other people. Always want to do it if you enjoy doing it genuinely. Okay, learn how to effectively problem solve. Okay, the thing is, if you're going to work on a successful project, you are going to encounter failures. Even if you plan everything out perfectly to the very last detail, you are going to encounter like problems. So I remember for my book, I'm just using this example. Please don't think I'm trying to brag or anything. It's just an example that I can like give examples for. So I use like a graphic design tool because I wanted my book to be really like easy to read and have a lot of pictures. So things like Microsoft Word or Google Docs did not really do my book justice as in formatting pictures. So I had to use like a graphic design tool. But I didn't know that the graphic design tool didn't let you put page numbers. So after I finished all 116 pages, I was like, yes, I'm done. And then I realized I don't have a single page number on there. So I had to like spend like 2 hours or more literally adding every single page number on there, all 116 pages. So things like that, just learn how to effectively problem solve. It's a really good experience. Okay, learn a new skill. So for example, if you're interested in coding, you can also learn like how you can learn a new language, learn how to build an app, things like that if you're interested. Oh, sure, you guys can have the chat back if you want to, but don't spam. And also be aware of current events, of course, and contribute your part in society. Okay, so now let's talk about how you can actually make your own COVID-19 initiative / project. So step one is to identify an area that you're passionate about. So that could be coding, writing, tutoring, reading, entrepreneurship, research, anything like that. So for example, if you're interested in entrepreneurship, you can start your own organization or you can start your own business. Those are really cool things. Like I'm really jealous of people who can start their own business and actually make money because those are so. Oh, Raymond asks, is there anything about video games? I'm sure you can spin that into something really cool. because I think I was talking to one of the professors one day, and we were talking about like vaccination strategies. And he told me that it's possible if someone is really good at video games and coding to create like a video game where they can teach people how quickly a disease can spread. So they can like infect one person and create a simulation that shows after like a few days how many people can get it. So creating a simulation like that is goes hand in hand with video games if you're really interested in video games, and coding, things like that. Of course, writing, you can write like blog posts, you can create magazines or anything like that. David asked, does expelling roaches in your own, wait, hold on, let me see this. Does expelling roaches in your own house count? Fixing dirty parts of your house? Let me think. I don't really know, but I'm sure you can think of something. You can definitely think of something. Maybe you can, if that's like your passion, I don't know you, okay, but if you're really like doing that, of course you can make like manuals on how to do, I don't know, okay, but you'll figure something out. Of course, reading, tutoring. Oh, by the way, Flash Math came out of us really loving tutoring. So you can also make like a tutoring organization where you tutor younger students. So I know a lot of you guys are in middle school. You can also be like, you can also try to get a lot of your friends and see if there are elementary school students who are interested in learning about like middle school stuff, like algebra or like reading stuff. So you can also do that if you're in middle school. Research. This might be kind of hard to get, especially if you're young, like in middle school. So for high school students, all you need to do to get a research position is just email. Email as many professors as you want who are interested in the same subjects that you are. Find their email, but you also want to cater each email specific to their needs. So for example, if you're interested in biology, you would find, like, go to a local university's website. It doesn't even have to be local nowadays. Just go to their website, find the person, go through each person and like read their description of what they do. Then draft an email template that says, oh, I looked at your website and I've looked through your stuff and it seemed really interesting. Give them an example of something that you find interesting, and then talk about why you're qualified, and then just leave it off with a direct asking, would you be interested? Would it, like, I'm really interested. Can I help you in like your possible research position? Stuff like that. It's really easy. Don't think you have to do that, because of course research is not something that's for everyone. But yeah, it's a really good experience to have. Okay, anyway, identify an area you're passionate about. Moving on, step 2 would be to brainstorm ideas for your initiative that can relate to your passion. So what do you want to do, and what do you want to do, and who do you want to help? So again, I'm gonna bring up my example because it's like the one that I am most like familiar with. So I'm gonna talk about Flash Math though. So I remember in March, Rich called up me, Isabella, and Andy, and he was like, hey, so a lot of kids in our region, they can't really attend contest math classes anymore because most of the classes were in person, and of course you can't really go to those classes anymore. So he's like, oh, well, we all have experience in competition math. We should probably do something to help others, like help students who can't really get those classes anymore and help them continue to learn, because competition math is so fun. And we were like, of course, because we also were kind of bored out of our minds. So we were like really interested in doing that. And then we just did a lot of outreach. We asked parents in WeChat. Yeah, WeChat is the way to go. And then a lot of people came, actually. We got like over 400 people signing up, and we like donated some money. So that was pretty fun as well. So you just want to identify who do you want to help and what are you good at that you can contribute to help other people. So yeah. Okay, and so after we finished Flash Math, we were like, well, we can't just like stop doing stuff. Oh, Chelsea asked to make it popular, use WeChat. I'll get right into that whole like advertising in the next slide. But right now, just wanted to talk about how we started the Kid Teach Kid camp. So one day we were all like, oh, well, Flash Math is over. We still want to do something with Kid Teach Kid over. summer break though. So we called up everyone and we were like, we probably shouldn't just do math because we know a lot of people who aren't that interested in math, but are interested in other areas like science. So then we all like determined what we were each good at, and then we determined what we were not good at. So we try to find our friends who are really good at those subjects. Like Daniel is really good at CS, Etan's really good at chemistry. So we asked them to join, and of course they were interested in joining. So then we like tried to do the next step, which is arguably the most important step out of all of these. Oh wait, no, sorry, this is not the most important one. This is like the second most important one. Actually putting effort in creating the bulk of your project. So for us, that would mean creating lesson plans, creating the website, scheduling times, planning out which platforms we're going to use to teach. Okay, guys, don't be talking about like video games. So I'm muting the chat right now, but yeah. Oh, okay, Chelsea's asking what grade I'm in. I'm a rising junior, so I'm 16 right now. But of course, you don't need to be a certain age to do any of this. This is all just based on your own passions. So actually put effort in creating the bulk of your project. So for my book, it involved actually writing the book, graphic design, doing COVID-19 research, and researching various publishing platforms. So if writing a book is something you're interested in, don't be intimidated. I know it sounds so intimidating, like, oh my God, writing a book. No, it's not that scary. I promise you. And you don't even need to write it so that it's like a textbook. You can literally write a children's book or a short story even. It doesn't have to be that long. I know a friend who wrote a 30-page book and got it published just the same as me. So you don't have to write something that's 116 pages long. But if you want to write a book, my tips are so that number one, you figure out what type of book you want to write. You can write a novel, a short story, a textbook, a children's book, any of that works, and then figure out what type of software that you want to use to write your book. So would you want to use Microsoft Word, Google Doc, or is your book more going to be picture-based, and would you want to use a graphic design tool like Canva? Figure that out and actually sit down for hours on a day and write it. And there's not really a shortcut to that. You just got to sit down and do your stuff. Okay, but something that you totally can do as part of a COVID-19 initiative is do a lot of research and present your book in a easy way to like younger kids. That could be something you look into. It's just an idea that I have. But yeah, so those are some possible ideas. Also, this stuff is you just got to do it. You got to put the work in. Okay, but this next step is very, very, very important. Probably the most important step out of all of these, which is broadcasting your project to the world. So this is also the most important step, yet also probably the most difficult step, because advertising on its own is like a very tricky thing, and it's like a skill that entrepreneurs are really good at. So you need to do a lot of research on how to get your idea out to the world, because if you don't no one knows about it, then that's like there's no use, right? So let me just give you guys a few examples, because it's easier to learn by example. So for example, let's talk about Kid Teach Kid, since y'all are all in it right now. So what we did was we found all of the audience from our Flash Math people. We had like all their emails. So we sent everyone an email. And beyond that, we tried to ask each one of our people each one of our staff members to try to like reach out to friends that they knew, or their local middle schools or elementary schools, to see if there's anyone interested. We made an Instagram account to see if we can get anyone from Instagram. But I'd say for Kid Teach Kid, our number one marketing tool that we use was WeChat, because a lot of kids' parents are really interested in having their kids attend enrichment classes, which is how we got our word out there. So a lot of you guys probably got it from WeChat, yeah. That was our main tool. Of course, we also got it through word of mouth, like if a friend knew about it and we got a friend to refer a friend, which is one of our point incentives, so that too. Just gotta figure out ways to get your thing out to the world. Okay, that was number one, learn about marketing and advertisement. Number two, reach out to press and newspapers to cover your initiative. Okay, this one takes a lot of patience. So reaching out is kind of scary if you haven't done it before. Like I remember for me, it was pretty scary because I was like, no one's gonna respond to my email. Like nobody cares, they're all busy. But just do it. Like go out to your local news websites. There should be like a little tab that says submit a news tip. And there will be like a little email that you can copy paste and then just draft the same email template. Don't make it too long. Just be like, oh, I've started this organization, or I wrote this book, or I made this app, or whatever. Just tell them about it. And then a lot of the times they'll leave you on red. Like they won't even reply. But sometimes they'll be like, oh, of course. Well, we'd love to cover your story. So that's how you get your information out to the world. And of course, once you get like smaller, more local newspapers, you can move up and try to get to larger newspapers. So I'm like trying to do that right now, but it's like kind of a hard process. Okay, anyway, number 3 would be create social media accounts to spread your message. So if you guys have Instagram, you probably know that Kid Teach Kid has an Instagram. You guys should follow us. It's at Kid Teach Kid. So then people can see, you can reach out through that Instagram page to more broad audiences, and get more people interested in what you're doing and potentially help out. And yeah. Do you have Twitter? I don't have Twitter, but that's also a really good way you can reach out through social media. That's also another thing to do. Yeah, Kid Teach Kid, we might get a Twitter sometime, maybe. And let's see, lastly, brainstorm incentives to get others involved. So an example of this would be so I'm just gonna give 2 examples again. Number 1, Kid Teach Kid. We did our whole point system because we want you guys to be more engaged. And once you're engaged, possibly can get other people engaged as well. So that's something you can do. Number 2 is for my book is that I made it so that all the proceeds are going to be donated, which is something that's more I don't know, it makes people want to buy it more than if they realize that I'm going to be like hogging all the proceeds. So try to figure out ways that people would want to buy your stuff or invest in your stuff or join your stuff. Okay, someone asked, do you maybe have Discord? I do have Discord, but I don't think Discord would be actually Discord would be a great way to advertise your stuff. You can literally just shout it in channel and sometimes people would see it. Does sticking advertising papers in public, like in movies, work? Haha. Oh, I haven't actually done this since newspapers nowadays aren't really like super impactful anymore, but I'd say just through online is perfect. So what happened was my local magazine, there's like a little news tip area. Well, I didn't actually submit my news tip. One of my teachers did. And after my story got out, then a lot of people were able to see it. And like that day, my book sales spiked so much. I'm not even kidding. So newspapers actually work a lot. So try to do that. Try to do magazines, any press, any thing like that works. Yeah, you can ping people in the server and stuff, and you can make channels read only so that they won't spam stuff. Yeah, Discord works perfectly. Fine, yeah. Okay, some tips. Don't be afraid to ask others for help. This is something that is really, really important. Like I remember when I was first starting with this stuff, I was like, oh my God, people are going to judge me so hard. This is so hard to do. I don't want to like ask people for help, but you have to. You can't do everything on your own. Just like our whole Kid Teach Kid thing, we couldn't do everything on our own. We had to ask other people, like our new teachers that we recruited. We can't do it. We like obviously I'm like trash at physics. I can't teach physics. So we had to ask Rochan to do it. So don't be afraid to ask others for help. Or just get into a team with some of your friends. That works well too. Okay, number 2, know who your audience is. So we wouldn't want to be advertising Kid Teach Kid to, I don't know, like college students. Like why would they be interested in taking our classes? We just need to know who would be interested in our stuff and advertise it specifically to them so that we don't waste like our resources. Okay, number 3, have a goal of the amount of involvement you want and try to meet it. So this is, I didn't actually do this. I just like went with the flow, but looking back, this is something that would be really important to do. So let's say in week 1, you want like 100 people to know it. And then in week 2, you want like 200 people to know it. Having these like weekly goals or goals after a certain period of time will get you really motivated. Just like in studying. This is a really good study tip, by the way. So I remember in the very beginning of quarantine, I was like, oh my God, I'm so bored. I don't know what I'm doing all day. So then I was like, you know what, I should make a schedule. So I made like weekly goals as to what I needed to do this every week. Like, for example, I needed to read how many chapters, I needed to write how many chapters, need to take however many tests, do anything. And then after you have this weekly goal, you'll be much more motivated to do things and actually meet a goal and have a tangible impact. So having a schedule is very important. How do you get a sponsorship? Oh, that's a great question. We don't really have any sponsors, but for my friends who have organizations who do have sponsors, they just reached out through email to potential sponsors like, I think like Shell is a good sponsor. There are also ones like local sponsors. Like I know my Siley team has a lot of sponsors. We just basically reach out to local businesses, even restaurants. They'd be interested in sponsoring too. So you just email basically. Would it be more helpful to have more classes or teachers? Well, I think sometimes it can be difficult for one teacher to manage multiple classes. So you probably want to have like one teacher per class. Or if you're interested, if you're interested in like super interested, you could definitely just have one teacher teach multiple classes. So if you're interested in starting like a tutoring thing, make sure you have enough teachers and make sure you can go out and reach out to other students. Well, I'm not sure what you mean by couldn't they teach though the high school students? What? Huh? I'm not sure. Oh, Isha asked, do we need a mentor for writing a book? You can get one if you want, although I'm not sure how you would do that, but I didn't really use one. You just need to find like something that you're really good at. So let's say you're really good at, it doesn't even need to be like a huge thing. Maybe you're really good at, I don't know, like chemistry. I'm just like, that's just an example. You can write a very introductory textbook, like on atoms or on like molecules, things like that. It doesn't need to be very advanced. Okay, when did you start this program? For Kid Teach Kid, we started it in March. Like we did the whole flash math thing in March. And then from like April to June, we were like grinding for Amy. So we didn't really do anything then. And then after June, we just started it again. So yeah. Let me check Q&A real quick. Like when you said how to advertise, you could advertise for jobs. Oh, okay. We don't pay, like our organization, Kid Teach Kid, is completely nonprofit. Like we don't get any money, honestly. So everything is just volunteer work. So, to advertise for more tutors or to get more teachers involved, something you could do is post like a little form on your website or your social media and try to just say like tutor applications are open. If you're interested in tutoring or volunteering, feel free to apply. And then a lot of people will be interested, trust me, if your scope is wide enough. Okay, let's move on to step 5. Step 5 is to measure your impact. So what this means is you need to have a tangible like impact. Okay, but what that means is like for Kid Teach Kid, for example, we have around 1,000 students right now. So that would be an example of an impact. So, or for your Daniel's like app thing, I'm not sure how many people use this app or how many downloads it has, but you would want to make sure you have a certain number of downloads. Or let's see, what else? Or if you're writing a book, you need to make sure you have a certain number of sales for your book. Or if you're just starting an organization, make sure you have enough members for your organization. Just make sure you have the numbers to back up your work. Otherwise, it's not really useful. So let me tell you guys one of my biggest pet peeves. So since COVID has happened, a lot of kids nowadays are really, really bored at home. So they're starting these nonprofit organizations or just organizations in general. And they start it, but they don't do anything with it. Like their message is all nice. They're like, oh, we want to, I don't even know, that we want to like increase minority representation, or we want to help other people succeed, or things like that. It's really, really nice, but they don't do anything with it. So that's like really stupid because you don't have an impact, or you don't have the numbers to back up your hard work. So you always need to make sure you do stuff with whatever you're doing. Okay, let me check the Q&A real quick. Oh, can you chat? Sure, I guess, but just don't talk about like video games or whatever. Okay. So the key to creating an impact would be have effective marketing strategies. So very, very heavy on step 4. This one is very important. And don't be afraid of rejection. So as I was talking about for like news tips and stuff, don't be afraid of getting left on red. It's fine. It happens all the time. But yeah, just shoot your shot everywhere you can. Set weekly or monthly impact goals for your project, I was talking about earlier. And examples of impact such as 1,000 members joined, 1,000 books sold, 1,000 masks donated, $1,000 raised, things like that. Make sure you have a tangible impact that you can measure with numbers. Okay, so step 6 is just something that I'm really interested in knowing you guys, because I really want to know how, what your ideas are. So let us know what your project is. Your homework for this week is to start brainstorming your initiative. Write down ideas and submit them from homework and email to me for personalized feedback. So for kid.initiatives@gmail.com. And every single week the homework is posted on the class resources page. So this week the public health homework is literally just like a few questions about what your idea is. So what you need to do is you submit your homework to get points, and then you submit it, just send me a copy of that to this email right here, and then I'll give you some like feedback as to what I think you can like continue doing, or if you need help. Stop talking about freaking games, guys. This is why I muted the chat. But anyway, yeah, make sure you email me so that I can like help you out and give you some like direction on where you can possibly go. So once your initiative has taken off, email me with your impact potential, and you'll get featured on our Instagram page at KidTeachKid. So yeah. Okay, so now we're nearing the end of our session. So here is thank you guys all for coming to all of our sessions, or one of our sessions, or any of our sessions for Kid Teach Kid, either public health or biology for me. This is our last class for public health, and earlier was our last biology class because our summer camp is only 4 weeks long. The last day of class is on Sunday, which I think would be the class ACT and like some contest math class. But this is the last public health class. It's so sad, right? Yeah. Okay. Let me check the last day of class is, yeah, I already answered that. Okay, so yeah, make sure you fill out our camp evaluation survey. We really, really appreciate all of your comments, because we're probably going to be doing another class session over the school year, just for like homework help or any of that. So make sure you stay tuned for that, and so we can help improve our stuff based on the feedback we receive from you guys. And also, thank you guys so much for coming to all of these classes. We honestly, at the beginning, we didn't think anyone was going to come. And then we can't believe we reached so many students, which is like such an amazing thing. Thank you guys all. What grade overall was this for? For this class specifically, no, like anyone can do it. Does, but for the public health class overall, it was for around like middle school, early high school students, I guess. Oh, Chelsea asked, are you teaching biology later? Oh, I actually taught biology at 2 o'clock today because I have something in the next hour. So if you missed that, you can just watch the recording on the website. Okay, Suri, can you make a movie and post it on YouTube and use ad revenues for Of course, that's an awesome idea. Oh my God, I never thought of that. But that's a great idea. You should definitely do that. How many people are here? I think some people just left, so now there's 57. But yeah, okay, so I have another meeting right after this. So I'm gonna thank you guys one more time. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your summer. And I hope you attend some other classes that we have on Saturday and Sunday. But for now, bye. Bye, everyone.